Hello, good morning, and welcome to another video edition of my newsletter where I wrap up what was in this week's newsletter. And I thought I'd start this morning by sharing how my week has been. Pretty good. I'd say some projects finished in that ebbie bit that comes with freelancing and now doing the business development to capitalize on the rest of the year. It's a fun time. Lots of things happening, some of which I will share in weeks to come. But for now, let's cover what was in this week's newsletter. Very good. So this week I cover a crash course on AI security, a way you can use AI to challenge your thinking, and some examples. And a finance worker released a $25 million ransom to a deep fake. And I just realized I missed the third headline, which is about non-profits. Anyway, on to the video. Very good. So when one of my friends say, hey, Marshy, you need to check out, or hey, Marshy, you need to meet, I usually pay attention. And my friend in cybersecurity mentioned Harriet Hacks. And Harriet has a YouTube channel talking about AI security and has released a stream of content fairly consistently since, which is fantastic. And what I like about this is, she just started last year. It's starting to get some traction. She's a woman in tech. It's a booming area in cybersecurity and then another booming trend in AI. And so she's covering some ripe subject matter and got great energy in sort of sharing about the topic. And so I reached out to Harriet and said, hey, my readers generally are interested in AI trends but struggle to keep up. Can you just share some things they need to think about with AI security? And so I edited it because I got an essay, but essentially the four key things to think about with AI security. One, the term AI is still foggy. Some people think of Skynet, some people think of advanced, cutting edge. Really, the International Organization of Standardization, ISO, gave it a much simpler definition last year, which was basically AI is something a human might have done, but instead using a model or an algorithm. So instead of thinking about AI as one particular piece of tech, it's more think about AI as a goal. And that's a pretty clever way of looking at it, I thought. AI security is important, but no one's talking about it. And probably one of the interesting parts about this is there's often talk of security and doing enough to stay protected. There's not enough information out there about the threat of bad actors or adversaries, as Harriet calls them. And so there's people actively trying to compromise systems using tools and deception. And we tend to focus on data integrity and things like that and not enough on that. AI security is different to cybersecurity. So the threats, if AI is in dealing with information, input, video, transactions, etc., most organizations aren't aware of what's necessary to protect all that. And there's lots of things that an AI security specialist can help with. And the AI security threat is real. In case the numbers are a bit blurry because sometimes it gets lumped in with ethics and safety, but the threat is probably higher than reported. And a really good example of this is just over the weekend, a Hong Kong finance worker paid $25 million to fraudsters. The bad actor or the adversary in this case was pretending to be the CFO in a deep fake video. Ooh, $25 million. Whoops. On to another topic. So I wanted to share a bit about AI as a thinking companion, and I frequently reference one useful thing. Ethan is a great writer about AI, and one of the older newsletters he shared is around using a tool like ChatGPT to challenge your thinking. And so we've all got blind spots in our thinking and ways of looking at the world that are flawed. And so using something to bounce off can actually be a really helpful exercise. And so one of the examples that Ethan shared is one of the biggest blind spots that people carry is opportunity costs. So if we do the thing now, we sort of forego or look at the cost of doing that action at the expense of all the other things later. And the classic example is saving. So we go to the pub and have $100 of beers each week. Over a year, that adds up to $5,200. And so do you need to do that at the cost of that? And so thinking about this over a longer timeline, ChatGPT or another tool like that could help you. I wanted to share some other ways you can use this. So in an earlier newsletter, I mentioned Socratic thinking. It's a guided question process where you go from one question to another, basically looking to get to a clearer answer. And so you can prompt ChatGPT to sort of walk you through the process, and I've got a link in there of how that works, and it'll clarify your thinking. It's actually a pretty straightforward method. Another one in a different direction, a bit more of a spiritual bent, is Byron Katie's The Work. And so if you're not familiar with Byron Katie, the book, it's not called The Work, but it teaches the work. It's something called, that's gonna annoy me. Anyway, look up Byron Katie. But The Work is simply a set of 4 steps that guides you through and encourages you to let go of thoughts that cause pain. And so an example, something that's causing you stress or discomfort, you identify it. So my boss doesn't appreciate me. Okay, then you go through the 4 questions. Is it true? Yes or no? If you go to number 2, can you absolutely know it's true that your boss doesn't appreciate you? Like, can you absolutely be sure that that's true? No. 3, but how do you react? Or what happens when you believe that thought? So when you think my boss doesn't appreciate you, what sort of tension or hurt is going on inside you? And then question 4 is, what would you be without that thought? So, if instead of my boss doesn't appreciate it, just bye-bye thought, would you be better off? And then third step, and this is one that's harder to get your head around, the turnaround. So the turnaround is the opposite of that from a few different angles. So in this example, it could be, my boss does appreciate me, and you check how that thought feels. I don't appreciate my boss, so maybe I'm projecting that, and so that could be it. Or I don't appreciate myself. And so it gets pretty deep pretty quickly, and you sort of sit with these turnarounds and see if one of them could be more true than the original thought that's bringing you discomfort. And almost always there is a clearer way of looking at it. I introduced this method 3-4 years ago, and it's blown my mind wide open. It's amazing how many of the thoughts we're holding on to when they're actually not that useful. Cool. The last thing, and I forgot to put in the top of the 3, sorry world, AI, non-profit community and training. So Microsoft obviously doing a lot in AI, taking an interest in OpenAI, doing a lot of stuff themselves, and one of the initiatives was a global leadership summit. Heard this through Kaz McGrath, who's doing a lot of good work with AI and nonprofits, and they've got a lot of training, free training material for AI in the links there, and also a train the trainer kit. So if, for example, you're an AI nonprofit leader who wants to marshal things through in your organization, they've got all the tools available for free for you to learn how to do that, obviously with a Microsoft flavor. That's it for the week. And so, for me, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Mum is working tomorrow, and so it's just dad and the boys. And I love those days, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Although they're just ravenous. Like, I don't know, we need to keep looking for things that are more calorically dense because they're just insatiable. And yeah, I'll share a bit more about what's going on with me in the next few weeks. The research project I'm working on in growth marketing with some collaborators, which is really exciting. And running in a bit of stealth mode, co-founding an AI startup with some really awesome people. If you've got questions about AI or questions about anything really, I'm going to keep doing these big fast value calls. You can find them in my links. And the video version of this is available on LinkedIn where most people see it, or it's also on YouTube. Have a good weekend. Hear from me next week. Take care. Bye.